The alarm bells screamed across the United Earth Defense Station as red lights flashed in every corridor. Commander Jake Morrison ran down the hallway, his boots hitting the metal floor hard with each step. He had been sleeping when the emergency call came through, but now he was wide awake. Something big was happening in space, and it was not good news. Dr. Amanda Pierce was already in the command center when Jake arrived. She stood in front of the massive screen that showed the solar system, her brown hair pulled back in a quick ponytail. Her hands shook slightly as she pointed at the display. Jake had never seen Amanda scared before, and that worried him more than the alarms. "Show me what we have," Jake said as he walked up beside her. The screen changed to show the outer edge of their solar system. At first, Jake saw nothing unusual. Then Amanda touched a button and suddenly the screen was full of ships. Not just a few ships, but hundreds of them. They were huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ships looked strange too, with curves and flowing lines instead of the straight edges that human ships had. "When did they arrive?" Jake asked. 20 minutes ago, Amanda replied. "They just appeared out of nowhere. No warning, no signals. They are not moving toward us, but they are not leaving either." Jake stared at the screen. In all his years as a commander, he had never seen anything like this. Humans had always wondered if there was other life in the galaxy, but they had never found any proof. Now here it was, right in their backyard. "Have they tried to talk to us?" he asked. Amanda shook her head. "Nothing. We have been sending messages on every frequency we know, but they are not answering." General Lisa Carter walked into the command center at that moment. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Jake had worked with her for many years, and he knew she was one of the smartest people in the Earth Defense Force. "Status report," she said in her no-nonsense voice. "Hundreds of unknown ships in the outer system," Jake told her. "No communication, no hostile moves. They are just sitting there." General Carter looked at the screen for a long moment. "Could be an invasion force," she said, "or could be something else. We need more information." "I want to go out there," Amanda said suddenly. Both Jake and the general looked at her in surprise. "Absolutely not," General Carter said. "We do not know what they want or if they are dangerous." "That is exactly why I need to go," Amanda replied. "I am the best xenobiologist on Earth. If these are aliens, then I am the person who has the best chance of understanding them." Jake knew Amanda was right, even though the idea made his stomach twist. With worry, she had spent her whole life studying the possibility of alien life. She knew more about different types of biology than anyone else on the planet. "It is too dangerous," General Carter said. "Everything is dangerous right now," Amanda shot back. "If they wanted to attack us, they could have done it already. Look at the size of those ships. They have enough firepower to destroy our entire planet. But they are not attacking. That has to mean something." The general was quiet for a moment, thinking. Finally, she nodded. "You can go, but you are taking a full military escort. Commander Morrison will lead the mission." Jake felt relief and fear at the same time. He was glad he would be there to protect Amanda, but he also knew they were about to do something that could change human history forever. 2 hours later, Jake sat in the pilot seat of the Earth ship Discovery. Amanda was beside him, checking her equipment for the 10th time. Behind them sat 6 of the best soldiers in the Earth Defense Force, all armed and ready for anything. As they flew toward the alien ships, Jake got a better look at them. They were beautiful in a strange way, like someone had grown them instead of building them. The metal looked smooth and alive, with colors that seemed to shift in the starlight. "Jake, look at this," Amanda said, pointing at her scanner. "I am getting biological readings from those ships." "You mean there are life forms on board?" "No. I mean the ships themselves are partly biological. It is like they are half machine and half living creature." Jake had trouble understanding that idea, but he trusted Amanda's expertise. As they got closer to the alien fleet, one of the ships began moving toward them. It was smaller than the others, but still 3 times the size of the Discovery. "Incoming. Transmission," called out Sergeant Bill Hayes from the communications station. "Put it on screen," Jake ordered. The screen flickered, and then showed something that made everyone on the ship go quiet. It was clearly alien, but also, surprisingly, human-like. The being had pale blue skin that seemed to glow slightly and long, thin limbs. Its face was narrow with large eyes that looked sad and tired. The alien opened its mouth and made sounds that meant nothing to the humans. The words were musical and flowing, like water running over stones. Amanda quickly activated her translation computer. "Give me a few minutes," she told Jake. "I need to find patterns in their language." The alien kept talking, and slowly Amanda's computer began to work. Words started appearing on her screen, but they did not make much sense at first. Then gradually, meanings began to form. "Help," Amanda read from her screen. "Dying. Refugees. Please." Jake felt his heart skip a beat. These were not invaders. They were refugees. Amanda worked faster now, her fingers flying over her keyboard. More words came through the translation. "We are the Zelani," Amanda read aloud. "We ask for sanctuary. We have nowhere else to go. Our people are dying. Please help us." The alien on the screen seemed to understand that the humans were trying to communicate. It held up one thin hand and pointed to itself, then said a word that sounded like Kethara. "I think that is its name," Amanda whispered. Jake made a decision that would change everything. He stood up and pointed to himself. "Jake," he said slowly and clearly. The alien's large eyes seemed to brighten. It pointed to Amanda, making a questioning sound. "Amanda," she said, pointing to herself. For the next hour, they worked to establish basic communication. The translation computer got better with each exchange, and slowly a terrible story emerged. The Zelani had once been part of a huge alliance of planets called the Stellar Dominion. But something had gone wrong. They had been cast out and hunted. Their homeworld was destroyed, and most of their people were dead. The ships that now sat in Earth's solar system carried the last survivors of their entire race. "How many of you are there?" Amanda asked through the computer. 50,000, came the translated reply. "All that remain of billions." Jake felt sick thinking about it. An entire civilization reduced to just 50,000 people, all crowded into refugee ships. "Why were you cast out?" Amanda asked. The alien called Kethara was quiet for a long time. When it finally answered, the words made Jake's blood run cold. "We refuse to kill anymore." The communication session lasted for hours. Slowly, the humans learned that the Zelani had amazing technology, especially with biological systems. They could heal diseases that humans thought were impossible to cure. They could make plants grow in places where nothing had grown before. They could even extend life itself. But they were also clearly dying. Their ships were failing, their people were sick, and they had been running for so long that they were at the end of their strength. When the communication finally ended, Jake sat back in his chair and looked at Amanda. They both knew that this moment would be remembered forever. Humanity had just made contact with alien refugees who needed their help. The question now was what Earth would do about it. 3 years had passed since the Zelani ships first appeared in Earth's sky. The world had changed in ways that nobody could have imagined. In the Australian desert, where nothing had grown before, a green valley now stretched for miles. And the humans called it Haven Valley. But the Zelani had their own name for it that meant place of second chances. Dr. Amanda Pierce walked through the valley early in the morning, watching the sunrise paint the strange buildings in shades of gold and blue. The Zelani structures looked like they had grown from the ground itself, with curved walls that seemed to breathe. After 3 years, Amanda still found them beautiful and mysterious. She was heading to meet Kethara at the research center. The old Zelani had become her closest friend among the aliens, teaching her about their science and culture. Amanda had learned to speak their language well enough to have real conversations, though she still used the translation computer for difficult topics. The research center was buzzing with activity when Amanda arrived. Human and Zelani scientists worked side by side, their different ways of thinking creating breakthroughs that neither species could have achieved alone. Engineer Ryan Cooper was bent over a piece of Zelani biotechnology, trying to understand how it worked. The device looked like a living crystal that pulsed with soft light. Ryan had been working on it for weeks, and Amanda could see the frustration on his face. Still having trouble with the bioreactor? Amanda asked as she walked up to him. Ryan looked up and pushed his hair back from his forehead. I can see what it does, but I cannot figure out how it does it. It is like trying to understand a living creature by looking at its skin. A gentle voice spoke behind them. Perhaps that is because you are trying to understand it with your mind instead of your heart. Amanda turned to see Velnara, one of the younger Zelani scientists. Her blue skin was darker than Kathara's, and she moved with the quick energy of someone who loved her work. What do you mean? Ryan asked. Your human technology is built with logic and mathematics, Velnara explained. Our technology grows from understanding life itself. To work with our bioreactors, you must feel how they want to work, not force them to work. Ryan looked confused, but Amanda understood. The Zelani did not build their technology the way humans did. They grew it, shaped it, and guided it like a gardener tending plants. Show him, Amanda said to Velnara. The young Zelani placed her long fingers on the bioreactor. She closed her eyes and seemed to listen to something only she could hear. Slowly, the crystal began to glow brighter. The light spread through tubes that connected to other devices, and soon the entire laboratory was powered by clean, endless energy. How did you do that? Ryan asked, his eyes wide with amazement. I asked it what it needed to be happy, Velnara said simply. It told me it was lonely, so I connected it to the other bioreactors, and now they can talk to each other. Ryan stared at the glowing crystal for a long moment. Amanda could see him trying to wrap his scientific mind around the idea that technology could have feelings. Meanwhile, in another part of the valley, Dr. Helen Martinez was having her own breakthrough. She had been working with Zelani healers to understand their medical knowledge. What she had learned was changing everything humans thought they knew about disease and healing. The cancer is completely gone, Dr. Martinez told her patient, a woman named Carol Stevens who had been dying just 3 months earlier. The Zelani treatment did not just destroy the cancer cells, it taught your body how to prevent cancer from ever forming again. Carol started crying with joy and relief. She hugged Dr. Martinez, then turned to thank healer Zethran, the Zelani who had saved her life. Your people have given us so much, Carol said through her tears. Healer Zethran's large eyes were sad as they always were. We are grateful to have a purpose again. For too long we have only known running and hiding. It feels good to heal instead of being hunted. But not everyone on Earth was happy about the changes. In Washington, Senator Paul Newman slammed his fist on the table during a closed-door meeting with President Kevin Walsh. They are holding back on us, Senator Newman said angrily. The Zelani have shown us medicine and energy and farming, but they refuse to share their weapons technology. President Walsh looked tired. The last 3 years had aged him considerably. Paul, they have told us repeatedly that they are pacifists now. They do not want to make weapons. And you believe them? Senator Newman shot back. These aliens conquered hundreds of worlds. They must have incredible weapons. We need that technology to defend ourselves. General Lisa Carter, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke up. Defend ourselves from what? The Zelani pose no threat to us. In fact, they have made us stronger than we have ever been. What about whoever was chasing them? Senator Newman demanded. What if this stellar dominion comes looking for the Zelani? We need to be ready. President Walsh rubbed his forehead. The Zelani have assured us that the Dominion thinks they are all dead. Their ships were designed to be invisible to Dominion sensors. And if they are wrong? Senator Newman asked. Nobody had a good answer to that question. Back in Haven Valley, Amanda was having tea with Kathara in the elder's private garden. The Zelani had created plants that glowed softly in the evening light, filling the air with a sweet scent that made humans feel peaceful. Your people seem troubled lately, Kathara observed, her musical voice carrying notes of concern. Amanda sighed. Some humans think you are hiding things from us. They want access to your weapons, technology. Kathara was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her words carried the weight of terrible memories. My people were once the greatest warriors the galaxy had ever seen. We were created by the Dominion to be living weapons, designed to conquer and destroy. For thousands
of years, we served them without question. Amanda listened carefully. Kithara had never spoken so openly about the Zelani's past. We were good at war, Kithara continued. Too good. We could create diseases that would kill entire species while
leaving their worlds perfect for Dominion colonists. We could make animals turn savage and attack their own kind. We could poison the very air that beings breathed. The words sent a chill down Amanda's spine. What changed? Amanda asked softly. We began to understand what we were doing, Kethara replied. For so long, the Dominion told us we were bringing order to the galaxy. But gradually some of us realized we were bringing death. We were not creating peace. We were creating graveyards. Kethara stood up and walked to a fountain where water played over stones that hummed with gentle music. The revolution began quietly, she said. Young Zelani like Velnara started asking questions. Why did we have to kill to bring peace? Why could we not heal instead of harm? Why could we not create instead of destroy? And the Dominion did not like those questions, Amanda guessed. The Dominion saw our questions as treason, Kithara confirmed. When we refused to create new biological weapons, they tried to force us. When we still refused, they decided to make an example of us. Amanda felt sick thinking about it. They tried to destroy your entire species. They succeeded with most of us, Kethara said sadly. Our homeworld burned for days. Billions died. Only those of us who were on distant missions survived to escape. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the musical stones and watching the glowing plants sway in the evening breeze. This is why you refuse to share weapons technology, Amanda said finally. We swore an oath when we escaped, Kithara replied. Never again would we create tools of death. Never again would we help anyone destroy life. We would only heal, only grow, only create. Amanda understood now why the Zelani were so insistent about remaining peaceful. They had seen what their weapons could do, and they had chosen a different path. But she also understood Senator Newman's concerns. If the Dominion ever found Earth, humanity would need some way to defend itself. The question was whether that defense could be built without breaking the Zelani's sacred oath. As the alien stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Amanda wondered if peace and security could truly exist in the same galaxy. The Zelani had chosen peace and been nearly destroyed for it. Would humanity face the same choice someday? The emergency meeting in the White House Situation Room was unlike anything President Kevin Walsh had ever experienced. The holographic display in the center of the room showed something that made his blood run cold. 3 massive ships hung in space at the edge of the solar system. But these were different from the Zelani vessels. These ships were dark and angular, covered in weapons that could be seen even from this distance. When did they arrive? President Walsh asked. General Lisa Carter stood beside the display, her face grim. 6 hours ago. They appeared exactly where the Zelani ships first arrived 5 years ago. Have they tried to communicate? Yes, sir. The message is being transmitted on all frequencies. General Carter touched a button and a voice filled the room. The voice was cold and mechanical, speaking perfect English with no emotion at all. People of Earth, we are representatives of the Stellar Dominion. We come not as conquerors, but as friends. We wish to speak with your leaders about joining our Confederation of Worlds. President Walsh felt a chill run down his spine. After 5 years, the Dominion had finally found them. Do the Zelani know? He asked. Dr. Pierce is informing them now, General Carter replied. At that moment in Haven Valley, Amanda Pierce was running toward the Zelani council chambers. Her feet pounded on the living pathways that the aliens had grown throughout their settlement. She burst through the entrance to find Kethara and the other elders already gathered around a glowing display that showed the Dominion ships. How did they find us? Amanda gasped, trying to catch her breath. Kethara's normally calm expression was filled with fear. They followed the energy signatures from our biotechnology. After 5 years of integration with human systems, we have created a trail that leads directly to Earth. What do they want? Amanda asked. They want you, said Elder Morthak, his ancient voice shaking. The Dominion has learned about the advances your people have made using our technology. They see humans as potential weapons. Amanda felt sick to her stomach. Weapons? But humans are not warriors like the Zelani were. No, Cathara agreed. But humans have something the Dominion prizes above all else. You have the ability to adapt and change quickly. In 5 years, you have learned to use our biotechnology in ways we never imagined. The Dominion wants that creativity for their wars. Back on the Dominion flagship, High Admiral Zarek stood before a massive view screen that showed Earth in all its blue and green beauty. The Admiral was tall and thin, with skin that looked like polished metal and eyes that glowed red in the darkness of the command bridge. The humans have exceeded our expectations, Zarek said to his second-in-command. Our scouts report that they have integrated Zelani biotechnology throughout their civilization in just 5 years. Most species take decades to achieve such fusion. What are your orders, Admiral? Asked Commander Thex. We will offer them membership in the Dominion, Zarek replied. They will provide us with their enhanced biotechnology and serve as soldiers in our armies. In return, we will give them access to our technology and protection from their enemies. And if they refuse? Admiral Zarek's metal face showed something that might have been a smile. They will not refuse. Not once they understand the alternative. Captain, Nicole Brooks had been called away from her family dinner when the Dominion ships appeared. Now she stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Valor, humanity's most advanced warship. The Valor had been built using a combination of human engineering and Zelani biotechnology, making it faster and stronger than any ship humans had ever created before. But looking at the Dominion vessels on her screen, Nicole knew the Valor would be no match for them. Each Dominion ship was 10 times larger than her vessel, and the sensor readings showed weapon systems that could destroy entire planets. Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the lead Dominion ship, called out Lieutenant Tommy Grant from the communication station. Put it through, Nicole ordered. The screen filled with the image of Admiral Zarek. His red eyes seemed to look directly at Nicole, making her feel cold despite the warmth of the ship's bridge. I am High Admiral Zarek of the Stellar Dominion Fleet, the alien said in perfect English. You will escort me to your planet for negotiations with your leaders. Nicole squared her shoulders and looked directly back at the Admiral. I am Captain Nicole Brooks of the Earth Defense Force. What are the terms of these negotiations? Terms? Admiral Zarek seemed amused. You are not in a position to discuss terms, human. You will comply with our instructions or face the consequences. The transmission ended, leaving Nicole staring at a blank screen. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment, first contact with a hostile alien force. But now that it was happening, she felt completely overwhelmed. On Earth, President Walsh was meeting with his emergency council. Senator Paul Newman sat across from him, along with General Carter and several other key officials. The mood in the room was tense. What exactly is the Dominion offering? And President Walsh asked. General Carter read from a document. Membership in their confederation, access to advanced technology, protection from hostile forces. In exchange, they want our biotechnology research and human soldiers for their armies. Soldiers? President Walsh said sharply. They specifically mentioned humanity's adaptability and creativity in warfare. General Carter explained. They see us as valuable assets for their military campaigns. Senator Newman leaned forward. Maybe we should consider this. The Dominion controls thousands of worlds. The technology they could share with us would advance our civilization by centuries. At what cost? General Carter asked. They want our people to fight in their wars. Some of our people, Senator Newman corrected. A small price to pay for the advancement of our entire species. President Walsh felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Everything humanity had worked toward for thousands of years was hanging in the balance. Meanwhile, in Haven Valley, Amanda was having a desperate conversation with Cathara and the other Zelani elders. We have to leave, Cathara said firmly. If we go, the Dominion might spare your world. No, Amanda said just as firmly. We will not abandon you. You came to us for sanctuary, and we gave our word. Your word will mean nothing if your species is enslaved, Elder Morthak pointed out. Then we fight, Amanda said. The The Zelani elders looked shocked. Dr. Pierce, you do not understand what you are saying. The Dominion has weapons that can crack planets in half. Your ships, even enhanced with our biotechnology, cannot stand against them. Maybe our ships cannot, Amanda agreed. But maybe there is another way. She turned to Velnara, the young Zelani scientist who had been working closely with the human research teams. The bioreactors, Amanda said. Ryan Cooper figured out how to network them together. What if we could network all the biotechnology on Earth, every bioreactor, every healing device, every enhanced crop, into one massive system? Velnara's eyes widened with understanding. You want to create a planetary defense network using living technology. Exactly. The Dominion uses machines to wage war. But what if we could create a living system that adapts and grows stronger with each attack? Kethera shook her head sadly. It has never been done before. The risk is enormous. The risk of doing nothing is greater, Amanda replied. As the debate continued in Haven Valley, President Walsh was making the most difficult decision of his life. He stood at the window of the Oval Office, looking out at the city lights and thinking about all the people who depended on him to make the right choice. General Carter entered the room quietly. Sir, the Dominion Admiral is demanding an answer within 12 hours. President Walsh nodded without turning around. Lisa, in your professional opinion, can we fight them? With conventional weapons? No, sir. They outgun us by a factor of at least 100 to 1. And if we accept their offer? General Carter was quiet for a moment. Then we become junior partners in a galactic empire built on conquest and slavery. We would survive, but we might not remain human in any way that matters. President Walsh turned around to face her. Then we fight. Sir, send a message to the Dominion Admiral. Tell him that Earth refuses his offer. We will not abandon our allies, and we will not become weapons in his wars. General Carter looked worried. Sir, they will attack. Our people will die. President Walsh walked to his desk and sat down heavily in his chair. Maybe. But if we surrender now, we die anyway. At least this way, we die as free beings. As the deadline approached, humans and Zelani worked together around the clock to prepare for the battle they knew was coming. In laboratories around the world, scientists raced to complete Amanda's plan for a planetary biodefense network. In military bases, soldiers prepared for a fight they probably could not win. And in space, the Dominion fleet waited patiently for humanity's answer, their weapons charged and ready to deliver a lesson that had been taught to countless worlds before. The test was about to begin. The countdown timer on the wall of the Situation Room showed 30 minutes remaining. President Kevin Walsh watched the numbers change, knowing that each second brought Earth closer to either salvation or destruction. Around him, his advisors worked frantically to coordinate the planet's defenses, but everyone knew they were preparing for a battle they could not win. Status report on the bio network, President Walsh called out. General Lisa Carter looked up from her communication device. Dr. Pierce reports they have connected 80% of the biotechnology on Earth. The network is growing stronger, but they need more time to complete the integration. Time we do not have, President Walsh said grimly. In Haven Valley, Amanda Pierce stood in the center of the largest Zelani bioreactor chamber she had ever seen. The room pulsed with living light as thousands of bioreactors connected to each other through networks of organic conduits that looked like glowing veins. The air hummed with energy as the planet's biotechnology slowly merged into one massive organism. Is it working? Amanda asked Velnara, who had her hands pressed against one of the larger bioreactors. Yes, but barely, the young Zelani scientist replied, sweat beading on her blue forehead. The network wants to grow, but it is fighting against itself. Human technology and Zelani technology think differently. They are having trouble understanding each other. Ryan Cooper ran into the chamber, his face flushed with excitement. I think I know what the problem is, he said breathlessly. We are trying to make the technologies work together, but we should be letting them teach each other. What do you mean? Amanda asked. The bioreactors learn by feeling, right? But our computers learn by calculating. Instead of forcing them to be the same, what if we let them be different but connected? Like a brain that has both logical and emotional sides. Velnara's eyes widened with understanding. Yes, the network needs both types of thinking to be complete. Human logic and Zelani intuition working as partners, not trying to become the same thing. As they worked to implement Ryan's idea, Kithara entered the chamber. The old Zelani elder moved slowly, her ancient body showing the strain of the last few days, my young friends, she said softly. I must tell you something important. The bionetwork you are creating has never been attempted before, not even by the Dominion. If it works, it will be something entirely new in the galaxy. And if it does not work? Amanda asked. Kithara's large eyes were sad but determined. Then, we will face our end knowing that we tried to create rather than destroy. High above Earth's atmosphere, Admiral Zarak stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the countdown timer reach its final minutes. The planet below looked peaceful and beautiful, with no signs of the panic that must be spreading across its surface. Admiral, we are detecting some kind of energy buildup on the planet's surface, reported Commander Thex. Show me, Zarak ordered. The main screen changed to show energy readings from Earth. Patterns of light were spreading across the continents, connecting cities and settlements in a web of power that the Dominion sensors had never seen before. What is that? Zarak asked. Unknown, sir. The energy signatures match Zelani biotechnology, but the pattern is completely foreign to our databases. Zarak felt a moment of unease. In all his years of conquest, he had learned to be wary of the unknown. But he pushed the feeling aside. No single planet could stand against the might of the Dominion. Time remaining, he asked. 2 minutes, sir. Captain Nicole Brooks watched from the bridge of the Valor as the Dominion ships began moving into attack formation. Her small fleet of Earth defense ships took position between the alien vessels and their home planet. But she knew they would only buy a few extra minutes at best. All ships, this is Captain Brooks, she said into her communication system. Remember, we are not trying to win this battle. We are trying to give our people on the surface enough time to complete their work. Every second we can hold them is a victory. The responses came back from her fellow captains, voices filled with courage despite the hopeless odds. These were good people, Nicole thought. If humanity was going to die today, at least they would die with honor. Captain, the Dominion flagship, is hailing us, Lieutenant Tommy Grant reported. Put it through. Admiral Zarek's metal face filled the screen, his red eyes glowing with cold amusement. Your time has expired, humans. This is your final chance to surrender. Nicole stood up straight and looked directly at the alien admiral. This is Captain Nicole Brooks of the Earth Defense Force. Earth refuses your demands. We will not abandon our allies, and we will not become slaves to your empire. Then you have chosen extinction, Zarak replied. Your deaths will serve as a lesson to other species who think they can defy the Dominion. The transmission ended. Nicole turned to her crew and saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. They knew what they were fighting for. All weapons, target the flagship, she ordered. Let us show them what humans are made of. On Earth's surface, the bionetwork reached critical mass just as the first Dominion weapons began to fire. Amanda felt the moment when human and Zelani technology finally understood each other. It was like watching two different languages suddenly merge into one beautiful song. The planet itself seemed to wake up. Every bioreactor, every enhanced crop field, every medical device that the Zelani had helped create suddenly connected into one vast living mind. The network reached out with invisible tendrils of energy, touching every corner of Earth and beyond. It is working, Velnara whispered, tears of joy streaming down her face. The network is alive. Above them, the first Dominion energy beams struck the atmosphere and simply disappeared. The planet's new biodefense system absorbed the energy and converted it into more power for the network. The more the Dominion attacked, the stronger Earth's defenses became. Admiral Zarak stared at his displays in disbelief. Impossible. Our weapons are having no effect. Sir, the planet appears to be absorbing our energy weapons and using them to strengthen its defenses, Commander Thex reported. Then use kinetic weapons. Drop asteroids on their cities. Already tried, sir. Some kind of energy field is deflecting all physical attacks as well. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Zarek felt genuine confusion. Nothing in Dominion records had prepared him for this type of defense. Captain Nicole Brooks was equally amazed as she watched the battle unfold. The Dominion ships were firing everything they had at Earth, but the planet was protected by a shimmering field of energy that seemed to grow brighter with each attack. Captain, I am getting readings from all across the solar system. Lieutenant, Grant called out. The bio-network is not just protecting Earth, it is spreading. Nicole looked at her sensors and gasped. Tendrils of living energy were reaching out from Earth toward the Moon, Mars, and the other planets. Wherever the energy touched, it left behind nodes of the bio-network, like seeds being planted across the entire solar system. But the most amazing thing was happening on the Dominion ships themselves. Some of their crew members were beginning to receive the network signals, and what they heard was changing everything. The bio-network was not just a weapon or a shield. It was a voice. It spoke directly to the minds of every thinking being it touched, carrying a message that had never been heard in the galaxy before. The message was simple. You do not have to fight anymore. You do not have to hurt others to be safe. There is another way. On the Dominion ships, soldiers who had been forced to serve their masters began to remember what it felt like to have hope. Conquered species who had forgotten their own names began to recall who they had been before the Dominion enslaved them. And in the command centers of the fleet, officers who had spent their lives following orders without question began to ask a dangerous question. Why are we doing this? Admiral Zarek felt the network trying to touch his mind and fought against it with all his strength. He had spent centuries building walls around his thoughts, and he would not let some primitive planetary defense system tear them down. All ships, concentrate fire on the energy source, he ordered. If we can destroy the network's heart, the rest will collapse. But even as he gave the order, Zarek could see doubt creeping into his crew's faces. The network's message was spreading through his fleet like a virus, infecting his soldiers with ideas of freedom and peace. On Earth, Amanda felt the network's first contact with the Dominion minds and was amazed by what she sensed. These were not monsters. They were people just like humans and Zelani who had been trapped in a system that turned them into weapons. The network is not just defending us, she told Cathara with wonder in her voice. It is trying to free them. Cathara smiled for the first time since the Dominion ships had arrived. Perhaps this is what we were meant to create all along. Not a weapon, but a cure for the disease of endless war. The battle continued to rage above Earth, but it was no longer a battle between two sides. It was becoming something much more important. A choice between the old way of conquest and fear, and a new way based on cooperation and hope. The outcome would determine not just the fate of Earth and the Zelani, but the future of the entire galaxy. The rebellion began on the Dominion ship crusher, when a young soldier named Crix threw down his weapon and refused to fire on Earth. Crix belonged to a species called the Vortani, a people who had been conquered by the Dominion 50 years earlier. For decades, he had fought in their wars because he had no choice. But now, with the bio-network's voice whispering hope into his mind, he remembered what freedom felt like. I will not shoot at people who are trying to protect refugees, Crix announced to his shocked squad mates. I will not be a weapon for the Dominion anymore. His commander, a metal-skinned Dominion officer named Vex, raised his weapon to execute Crix for disobedience. But before he could fire, 3 other soldiers stepped between them. They too had heard the network's message and decided they wanted no part in destroying a world that offered sanctuary to the helpless. Similar scenes were playing out across the Dominion fleet as the bio-network's influence spread from ship to ship. The network did not force anyone to change their minds. Instead, it simply reminded them of who they had been before the Dominion took their freedom away. Admiral Zarek watched his fleet falling apart around him and felt rage building in his chest. Status report, he demanded from Commander Thex. Sir, we have mutinies on 40% of our ships. The crews are refusing to continue the attack. Then execute the mutineers and replace them with loyal troops. Sir, the loyal troops are joining the mutinies. The network signal is affecting everyone who hears it. Zarek slammed his metal fist against the command console. In all his years of conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. Weapons he could understand, shields he could break through, but this network was attacking something he had never considered vulnerable, the very idea that the Dominion's way was the only way. On Earth, Amanda Pierce stood in the Bio-Network Control Center, watching displays that showed the signal spreading throughout the galaxy. What had started as a planetary defense system had become something far greater, a beacon of hope that was reaching oppressed peoples on thousands of worlds. The network is connecting to other biotechnology across the galaxy, Belnara reported with excitement. Every world where the Zelani once lived still has traces of our old technology. The signal is using those connections to spread the message of freedom. Cathara placed a gentle hand on Amanda's shoulder. Your species has done something remarkable, Dr. Pierce. You have weaponized hope itself. We could not have done it without your people's technology, Amanda replied. This is what true partnership looks like. President Kevin Walsh received the update in the White House Situation Room and felt a mixture of relief and amazement. How many Dominion ships have joined the rebellion? General Lisa Carter consulted her reports. Over 60%, sir. And the number is growing every minute. Ships are breaking away from the fleet and requesting sanctuary in our solar system. Can we trust them? The Bio-Network is confirming their sincerity, sir. These people genuinely want to be free from Dominion control. Captain Nicole Brooks watched from the bridge of the Valor as the largest Dominion ship, a massive vessel called the Devastator, slowly turned away from Earth and pointed its weapons at Admiral Zarek's flagship. Instead, Captain Brooks, this is Captain Hora of the Devastator, came a voice over the communication system. The speaker had a deep, rumbling voice that sounded like distant thunder. My crew and I wish to join your alliance. We offer our ship and our loyalty to the cause of freedom. Nicole felt tears of joy running down her cheeks. Welcome to the fight for liberty, Captain Hora. We are honored to have you with us. All across the Dominion fleet, similar declarations were being broadcast. Species that had been enemies for centuries were suddenly working together, united by the simple idea that no one should be forced to live in slavery. But Admiral Zarek was not finished. He still controlled his flagship and several other vessels, filled with troops who remained loyal to the Dominion through fear or indoctrination. If he could not conquer Earth, he would at least make sure it burned. All remaining loyal ships target the planet's population centers, Zarek ordered. If we cannot have this world, no one can. The loyal ships began charging their most powerful weapons, the ones designed to crack continents apart. But before they could fire, something unexpected happened. The rebel ships moved to protect Earth, forming a shield wall between the planet and Zarek's forces. You want to destroy innocent people? Captain Hora broadcast on all frequencies. You will have to go through us first. The first shots of the new battle lit up space around Earth. But this was different from the earlier fighting. This was not the Dominion attacking a helpless planet. This was free people fighting to protect their new home from those who would enslave them. Ryan Cooper, working frantically in the Bio-Network Center, made a discovery that changed everything. Amanda, look at this, he called out excitedly. The network is not just spreading through space. It is learning and growing stronger with each new connection. Amanda looked at his display and gasped. The Bio-Network now connected thousands of worlds across the galaxy. On each world, oppressed peoples were rising up against their Dominion overlords, inspired by the message of hope that had started on Earth. It is a galactic revolution, she whispered. And it all started because humans refused to abandon the Zelani, Cathara said with pride in her voice. The final battle between Admiral Zarek's remaining forces and the growing rebel fleet lasted for hours. But the outcome was never really in doubt. More and more Dominion ships switched sides as the Bio-Network's message reached their crews. Even some of Zarek's most loyal officers began to question why they were fighting to preserve a system that brought nothing but suffering to the galaxy. The end came when Zarek's own second-in-command, Commander Thex, finally heard the network's voice and understood what it was offering. Instead of following another order to fire on civilians, Thex turned to his admiral and said the words that would echo through history. No more. The bridge crew quickly took control of the flagship, and Admiral Zarek found himself a prisoner on his own ship. The last of the Dominion's loyal forces had fallen not to superior weapons, but to the simple realization that they had a choice. In the aftermath of the battle, representatives from hundreds of species gathered on Earth to form something the galaxy had never seen before: the Free Worlds Alliance. Unlike the Dominion, which ruled through fear and force, the Alliance was built on voluntary cooperation and mutual aid. Dr. Amanda Pierce was chosen as the Alliance's first Director of Interspecies Relations, a job that would have been impossible to imagine just weeks earlier. Her first official act was to grant full citizenship to all refugees, including the former Dominion soldiers who had chosen freedom over tyranny. President Walsh stood before the assembled representatives and spoke words that would be remembered for generations. Today we have learned that the strongest force in the universe is not the power to destroy, but the courage to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The Zelani came to us as refugees, abandoned by the stars and hunted by those they once served. By giving them sanctuary, we discovered something amazing. When we protect others, we protect the best parts of ourselves. Kethera, now serving as the Alliance's Minister of Peaceful Technology, worked with human scientists to ensure that the bio-network would never be used as a weapon. Instead, it became a communication system that connected free worlds across the galaxy, allowing them to share knowledge, culture, and hope. Years later, Amanda would often stand in Haven Valley and watch children from dozens of species playing together in the gardens that the Zelani had grown. Human children ran alongside young Zelani, while Vortani youngsters learned to tend the glowing plants that their ancestors had never seen. The stellar Dominion was gone, replaced by a galaxy where cooperation had defeated conquest, where diversity was celebrated instead of crushed, and where the abandoned and refugee could find not just sanctuary, but a new home among the stars. And it all began because one species made a simple choice. When refugees knocked on their door, begging for help, humanity opened that door and said, "Welcome home." The stars no longer abandoned anyone. They welcomed all who sought freedom, peace, and the chance to build something better than what had come before.